Hey there, everybody. Time for the final final mini-mystery of the game, The Lying Letter. I kind of like these mini-mysteries. They sort of remind me of the Encyclopedia Brown series, where you just have to read a story and then figure out what the contradiction is. The Lying Letter. Dave hitches a large trailer up to the back of the Raleigh's old truck. Nancy, Bess, and George watch him with curiosity. Running away? Nancy teases. Not today, Dave replies. Going over to Tucson for a while for a little meet-up. Now, don't go around being so modest. People might take you at your word, Aunt Bet says, appearing with a small packed lunch for Dave. Dave here is one of the best barrel riders in the state. He's on his way to collect another first-place ribbon for Shadow Ranch. Dave stares at his boots, uncomfortable with all the sudden attention. It's pretty tough competition. I might not even place. Aunt Bet rolls her eyes. He says the same thing every time. Now, why don't you girls tag along and cheer him on? Can we? Bess asks excitedly. George and Nancy nod in agreement. Soon the group is packed in the truck, heading for Tucson. What's barrel racing? Bess asks. Is it like bull riding? No, not really. Really nothing at all like bull riding, Bess. Only a little, Dave explains. It takes a little more skill than just holding on to something mad. You gotta run a bunch of turns as fast as you can without falling off. So it's like it's like a salami, Nancy says, but with horses, I guess. I thought it was a woman's event, George asks. Well, I'm secretly a woman, Dave says. It's one of the rodeo sports that's traditionally dominated by women, Dave explains. But that don't mean men can't compete too. The men's division is pretty new, but competition is picking up fast. All right, hooray for gender equality. There we are! Dave points to a domed stadium in the distance. His brow furrows. Wasn't this crowded last year? As they park, Nancy watches a group of cowboys and ranch hands preparing for the event. Horses flick their tails restlessly as their riders make last-minute adjustments to straps and saddles. A cluster of reporters interview the teams as they make their way into the area. I had no idea this was such a big event, Nancy exclaims. There must be thousands of people here. Don't remind me, Dave says as he surveys the crowd uneasily. You'll do great, Bess enthuses. And if you don't, we'll lie and say you did. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Dave says with a smile as he leads his horse, Ace, out of the trailer. You best hurry if you want a good seat. Don't break a leg, Bess says as the girls rush off to the main entrance. In the distance, Nancy notices Tex walking over to Dave's staging area. What's he doing here? George asks. I'm sure he's here to help Dave out, Nancy summarizes. Probably drove all this way to yell at Dave for taking a horse from the ranch, Bess jokes. Well, at least we'll have company next time we're cleaning out the tack room. The girls wedge themselves into a narrow row of seats in the middle of the excited, rowdy audience. The crowd explodes into a loud cheer as the announcer calls out the name of the first contestant. Out of the gate first, the announcer calls, is Guy LaRue! In a flash, the rider's horse flies across the course, weaving a tortuous path of twists and turns through the barrels. It was more fun than a barrel of monkeys. That's impossible, George exclaims. It can't be more fun than a barrel of monkeys. That's the most fun ever. I've never seen a horse move like that. Dave sure got his work cut out for him. Dave can beat these jokers, Bess yells over the noise of the crowd. As the first round continues, each rider seems to complete the race faster than the last. Finally, the girls see Dave walk up to the gate. When the previous rider returns to the stable, the loudspeaker crackles on. Riding next and representing Shadow Ranch, the announcer's voice rings out over the roar of the crowd. Three-time finalist Dave Gregory! Dave mounts his horse and tips his hat to the grandstands. We finally figured out what Dave's last name was. I think this is the first time we'd mentioned that his name is Dave Gregory. Yeah, he has a first name for a last name. And a first name for a first name! Cool. I wonder if his middle name is a first name. Whatever, doesn't matter. Dave mounts his horse and tips his hat to the grandstands. The moment the buzzer sounds, he bursts out of the gates at breakneck speed. And then he broke his neck. Dave leans in for the first turn, picking up speed. As he takes the turn, a look of concern suddenly crosses his face. Something's wrong, Nancy whispers, standing up. As the horse rounds the turn, Dave's saddle snaps off, sending him flying. The audience gasps as Dave lands in a crumpled heap. Dave! Nancy calls out, rushing down the bleacher stairs. Bess and George follow closely behind as Nancy leaps the barrier and runs to where Dave lies in the dust. I guess he really did break his neck, huh? Are you okay? Nancy asks, worried. Dave lets out a long groan. Don't think I broke anything. Don't think I won, neither. Nancy and Tex help Dave to a back room set aside for injured riders. Bess and George follow closely behind. Despite his protests, Dave is what's going on here? Dave is given a quick once-over by the rodeo doctor, who tells him he's lucky to have taken a spill like that without sustaining an injury. A moment later, a man in a spotless white shirt studded with rhinestones enters and extends his hand to Dave. Name's Clyde Perkins, he announces, shaking Dave's hand. I'm the man in charge of this here dog and pony show. And after what I saw, I suspect you'll want a word with me. Bess gives Nancy a confused look. What's he talking about? I haven't seen any dogs or ponies all day. What he's talking about, Tex interrupts, is sabotage. He knows a rider of Dave's skill never let a saddle snap like that. That's exactly what I'm saying, Clyde says. I rounded up my staff to see if they noticed anything funny. And? Tex rasps. And, well, they saw a rodeo clown, but it wasn't very funny. Well, I'm not sure yet. But whatever happened caused one of our boys to take his gear and skedaddle. What do you mean? Nancy asks. Johnny Redstone, one of our best hands, just up and quit, Clyde says. Rodeo boys never snitch on each other, but it looks like Johnny didn't feel right after what he saw. He left this note to exonerate himself, I reckon. Clyde hands Dave the note, and Nancy reads over his shoulder. Dear Mr. Perkins, while I admit that I was in the neighboring group to where Dave Gregory's tack was kept, I did not see who tampered with his saddle. In my defense, I was so vigorously practicing my lasso tricks that I was distracted. On my honor as a rodeo man, this is the truth. Johnny Redstone. Interesting. He used the British spelling for a lot of those words. Neighboring, defense, vigorously practicing, honor. British spelling, they put a bunch of U's, silent U's in places where Americans don't have U's. Because you are not allowed to be in America, but you are allowed in Britain. I think that's what the message is here. Mr. Perkins, Nancy asks, where are Dave's competitors from? All over the world. Germany, Canada, Argentina, France, and Mexico. Nancy nods. And where is Johnny from? He's a Tucson boy, born and bred. Then I know who's behind the sabotage, Nancy announced. Johnny tells us in his letter. Uh-oh, everybody. I think I kind of spoiled the solution. I honestly haven't read this story before, but I'm pretty sure the solution has something to do with the British spelling. So people are from Germany, Canada, Argentina, France, and Mexico. None of those places are Britain, though. So what does British spelling have to do with anything? Canadian spelling is the same as American spelling, I think. In Germany, call me crazy, but I think they write in German. They might write in French in France. It must have been the Canadian, Nancy says, You said the rodeo workers don't tell on one another, but Johnny didn't feel right about what he saw. He left this note as a clue, and so many of the words are written using the Canadian spelling, such as neighboring, practicing, and honor. Oh no, I was wrong! See, I thought that was the British spelling, not the Canadian spelling. I've never really been to Canada, so I guess I don't know how they spell things over there. Well, I'll be, Clyde muses, looking over the letter. I bet you're right. When confronted, the Canadian writer admits to cutting Dave's saddle and is removed from all future competition. Even though Dave is no longer a part of the event, he's invited to join the judging panel and is asked next year to come back as a writer. Alright everybody, so we just saw the final mini-mystery, The Lying Letter. Congratulations to us!